right? All of you know about a coach, and there are many coaches, but this is a special coach. All of you know how important examination in your life, and you want to be a chartered accountant very soon. So I want to ask you a few questions, right? There are many students, even in my life, I can give you many examples over the years of being with students, right? So there are students, they say, I attended all lectures, it may be online, physically, all the lectures I have attended. I followed all the instructions given by lecturers and I did all past papers. In fact, doing the same past paper questions many times. And some students may also say, I have read all answers. There are some smart students, I don't know whether they are smart or not, they are reading answers. But by doing all of this, finally they say, down, may parat down, right? So repeated failures, right? So that is the context, students. I want you to be very serious. I will ask this question from you. However much lecturers say I have done the syllabus, I have done all the sessions, I have done all past papers, I will ask this question, is lecturer going to do the exam or you are going to do the exam? So lecturer will do a fantastic job in covering the syllabus, but when it comes to the exam hall, you are shivering and you get stuck and you don't know what to write. When there is a new question that really requires you to think and apply knowledge, you get stuck. That is because that is one-way teaching rather than being two-way teaching. Rather than activating your thinking, getting you to think, and this is how you need to develop the answer step by step. So that skill is very, very important. That is the context where coaching comes. So before I go there, so the whole idea of this session series is, we know time is absolutely valuable and most of you may be working. There may be few full-time students. While allocating limited studies, limited time for studies, let us say you have, in a day you have only half an hour. Maybe only 15 minutes you can allocate, but if you can make that 15 minutes effective, විනාඩි 15යි තියෙන්නේ. ඒ 15 තුලින් ලොකු වෙනසක් කරන්න පුළුවන්. Right? So that is where my role is to guide you. This is how you need to come up with answers. Right? Of course, there are ground rules. එකපාරට answers ලියන්න බෑ. But if you follow these instructions, I can tell you for sure you will pass exam without any questions, right? So I am telling you with many years of experience of being associated with highly successful students. I can cite one example. When I started advanced auditing in many years before lecturing, that students says or the market says there is no prize winner in the history for 20, 30 years. And it was a passion, right? One of the passion I had, one day I would like to see a prize winner. So this teaching, right? Teaching with passion for many years started. And then eventually one student says, so I got a letter from the CA saying that being a prize winner after, it letter says about 30 years, right? So the first prize winner, second and so on, right? So this is in fact the period of so-called physical lecturing, right? And then some students come and tell me, sir, I am doing this exam for 10 times. For the last 10 years I have been doing this examination, but I keep failing. What should I do? But I will tell you one important story in 2 minutes. So I met students, overseas students, right, in Dubai, a couple of years before. These students, he met me and said, so I have been doing chartered, I have only this subject, many years, every time I do, I was not able to complete. And then I asked him, okay, this is the paper, right? Okay, I asked him to come and meet me, take this paper, recent paper, write the answer and give it to me. So I told him very clearly, this is a red pen. Ball, question marks. This is unacceptable. This is the way you have to think. Go back. corrective answer and come back. So this I did one day. A second day also I met him and I asked him, do this way. You have studied the subject many times. You have gone through books every time. Every time you fail and again go through the same thing. අර fail වෙච්ච වැඩ කොටසම නැවත කරගෙන යනවා. So this approach continues and again fail. Fail approach, අර fail වෙච්ච approach එක ආයෙ කරාම ආයෙ fail වෙනවා. ඉතින් ඒක නවත්තන්න බෑ. But I asked him, really, once you write down answer, I rejected. I am examined, I marked wrong answers. Go back. This is the way you have to think. You think like that. Now I coach him, right? I am talking to you confidently as a certified coach, right? I coach him, look here. This way, I explained to you once, but now you go and do it. Because remember, as human being, all of you have the intelligence, right? You are resourceful. So you have everything for you to be successful. A job of a good teacher or a mentor or a coach is to activate, help to unleash your hidden talents. තමන්ගේ ඇතුලේ සැඟවිලා තියෙන කුසලතා එළියට අරගෙන ඉදිරියට එන්න තමයි lecturer කෙනෙක් උදව් කරන්න ඕනේ, right? So now this particular student I asked, okay, you go and answer, and now you be your coach, because I guided him. This is how you have to mark, right? So you mark your answer, right, and put a question mark. You challenge your own answers. Repeat it. I can't explain that now in 5 minutes, that one, right? So as we go along, we'll do that type of coaching session with past papers, which is what I'm going to do in this series of exam coach, which is not traditional teaching, which is not one-way teaching, which is to give you the essence of what you have to know. That is the body of knowledge. This is the knowledge. Again, there are very powerful techniques, right? Any big syllabus, I can do some diagrams and show you visually. Make pictures out of it. This is the subject. So you remember the knowledge, but that knowledge is useless if there is a question, if you don't know how to apply. The application matters a lot. So the application needs a bit of coaching. This is the way you apply. Whereas some students wait, some students are unhappy unless lecturer dictate the answer, ABC, all memorized. So that way it doesn't work in professional examination. Unless you have been trained that this knowledge I know, if this question comes, this is how I take a part of it and produce answer in this way. It is not to memorize and then just reproduce the answer. But to see from where to take from your knowledge buckets, you take from 3 buckets and then present the answer differently. So that is the skill. So this series is about coaching. So the idea is to cover 100% syllabus only with exam questions in a limited time. So remember, there is a famous book called Atomic Habits. I want you to Google now and say that if you start this powerful way of coaching yourself within 15 minutes and start practicing, do only that. Make sure that you know the subject knowledge. I will cover that also in this session. Take in a big area of the syllabus and see within few minutes how to navigate that. Navigate කියන්නේ මුල ඉඳලා අගට බලනවා. So that you know the subject and then how to use that to come up with your own answer. So that is the exam coach series. So what I do is I will learn, this is what I told you. If you look at coaching and teaching, see the coaching type of approach. Of course, in traditional teaching is formal, this lecture, that lecture comes and talk, and then there are a lot of theories, all of that. But when it comes to coaching approach, right, it is a more practical, two-way communication, and then obviously you have the knowledge, it is to enhance your knowledge and come up with the answers. So in this approach, before I get into, because like I said, it's all syllabus topics through exam questions. With the assumption that you have the knowledge, let's say you don't have the knowledge, and then again there is a smart way of acquiring the knowledge, smart way. right? Because our human brain is very, very powerful. So I'm talking with many years of lecturing experience. Any subject, there is an art of loving the subject and learning the subject. So you have that knowledge, and then how do you convert that knowledge into answers in the examination? So that's what we are going to talk. In that, rule number 1 is what? So this is, students, this is a definite path for success, undoubted path of success. And if any one of you have a doubt, you come and follow this and come and tell me that I couldn't pass the exam, is unbelievable. It cannot happen, right? So you can give a guarantee to yourself that I follow this approach, I am going to definitely pass. Why I can't guarantee? Because I don't know whether you follow or not. But you can, after following, come and tell me I haven't, it doesn't work for me, it cannot happen. That's powerful. So, what is this undoubted path? Now, let me ask this question. ඔයාලා කැමතිද CEO කෙනෙක් වෙන්න one day? Do you like to be a CEO? Then think like a CEO, right? So this thinking is very, very powerful, right? So when it comes to any examination, you want to pass the exam, the main thing that you need to do is to think like an examiner, right? So that's one of the first skill that you are going to develop. When you think like an examiner, you know what question will come. මොන ප්‍රශ්නේ දෙන්නේ, and then you must know, like I said, our knowledge කොහෙද තියෙන්නේ, right? Now let us say there is a 1000-page book, but you know page number 300, last para is examinable. How do you know? There is art. That's why I'm saying. Now this course, all those paragraphs identified to you visually. ඇඳලා තියෙන්නේ ඔක්කොම, diagrams, right? That's what you will see in the notes that I am going to give you, the lecture notes. But that is only knowledge, huh? But remember, this coaching approach is different. Knowledge, you go and watch videos. But this is about totally answering exam questions. Theory video you watch at any time, anywhere, right? But the coaching approach is you take a blank paper with a pen, write the answer. So that one, and if you watch few of these videos, you will see how to write that answer. So think like an examiner, and then how examiner begins to set the paper. If I am an examiner, I have to give the paper in 3 months or 2 months or 1 month's time, depending on the time available. The first thing examiner will go through is what? LOs. Without LOs, no pass paper, no, not pass paper, no exam question can be set. So therefore, if you are a smart student, book is 1000-page, but more than the book, I am more interested about that 3 pages syllabus. To understand in my own words, මට තේරෙන භාෂාවෙන් මේ LOs ටික දාගෙන, how can I prepare? That's the key. So the LOs matters, and then, oh, those 1000 pages I have to learn how. That is, again, lecturer will guide you. I am going to coach you that this is how. There can be a bit of teaching also. This is not only coaching. There are 1000 pages balance. That's where the lecturer's real skill comes, right? So if you look at any big topic, we can just put you a diagram in a way that you remember. So I'm going to do that in this session itself. You will see, wow, this one is only diagram and I understand those concepts. Let us say risk of material misstatement. What does it mean? RMM, right? Now, if RMM, let's say there is a LO on RMM, let us say, all of you know risk of material misstatement, famous topic. Now, the learning outcome, let's say learning outcome is explain. Explain is a theoretical LO, right? Whereas examiner will also start the LO with evaluate, which is a very serious way. Evaluate means, now this type of a question, evaluate 3 risk of misstatement, there you might get perhaps about 9 marks. Whereas you explain risk of misstatement as a theory question, you might get 3 marks. This is 9, right? So, the first thing I said you have to learn. Now this risk of misstatement, there will be 20-30 pages of detail, but can I have that summary in half a page? Then you must know risk of misstatement means the risk that financial statements can be misstated, right? Now from auditor's lens, financial statements can be misstated prior to the audit. Whether before the audit, what is the chance that these accounts can be misstated? When we say that, it has two parts. There is an inherent risk. Some accounts by nature they can be misstated because they are subjective balances, subjective transactions. For example, impairment. By nature, impairment involves subjective assumption. Inherent risk is high, right? And then there is a control risk, right? Now let us take another example that there is a company where sales, famous risk of misstatement is revenue recognition, RR. Now this is an export company. For different customer there are different terms. Some customer FOB, right? That means the revenue, now according to the new standard we call control will transfer at the FOB when the goods are on the vessel, FOB. Whereas there is another contract called FCA. When you hand over goods to forwarder, revenue will transfer. Now this is complex. When it is complex, inherent risk is high. When something is complex, the company will have internal controls. See, this circle is internal control. But if those controls are not working, then that leads to control risk. Now this way, you took only 2 minutes, but I can extend that to 10 minutes and fully cover with many diagrams, explanation that this is risk of misstatement. Now do an exam question. So remember students, it's very important that if there is a LO, right, called risk of misstatement, you must know every detail about risk of misstatement. Okay, inherent risk. Again, inherent risk is defined as possibility that an assertion is misstated. Now you see that's how inherent risk is defined, right? Possibility, or we call this word susceptibility. Susceptibility is possibility, right? Susceptibility that an assertion, right? For example, let's say assertion called revenue cutoff, whether revenue is recorded at the period end, cutoff, right, at the right period. If the FOB 31st March, the goods reach the vessel at 31st March, are we recognizing the revenue, right? So inherent risk means by nature, because I told you each contract revenue is going to differ, so therefore the inherent risk is high. The cutoff can be easily misstated. That way you need to understand this LO very well, and then if there is exam question you must know how to write the answer in 2 sentences. Now explain the risk of misstatement. The answer is the risk that financial statements can be misstated prior to the audit. The inherent risk include both risk of misstatement include both inherent risk and control risk. Inherent risk is the possibility that an assertion can be misstated, assuming there is no control. Whether control is there or not, what is the chance that sales may be recorded in the wrong period? If you don't capture that in terms FOB or FCA, right? Now, if there is an inherent risk, company will have internal control. If internal control fails, right, that risk is called control. Likewise, I took one example. You need to have that knowledge and then write the answer. Now there is one company, examiner has given you financial statements, all that story, and asking you evaluate 3 risk of misstatement. Remember, evaluate is little complex. ටිකක් බරයි. Evaluate කිව්වහම you have to go through that scenario. This company The examiner has given you a scenario. This is a manufacturing company. They are exporting. There are different customers have different Incoterms. Incoterms means international commercial terms, right? Incoterms. And I told you, for example, some customers they say FOB. That means when the goods are on the vessel, right? Then some contracts are FCA, not the fellow chartered accountant, when the goods are handed over to the forward. Some companies, some customers says it's ex-factory. Ex-factory means when the goods are going out from company's gate. Now, you will write answer in this company. The revenue recognition is complex because there are different contracts. In those different contracts, the point at which control transfer differ. Therefore, there is a risk that cutoff assertion can be misstated. I get 3 marks for writing that because I am able to use the case study information about these Incoterms and to say in my company, in the company that is given, the chances that revenue can be overstated is very high. That is reason number 1. Reason number 2, I am saying in this company, the information given says that they are under pressure. The sales have come down due to the current economic condition in Sri Lanka. Managing director somehow wants to achieve revenue target. And then companies, people, they get bonuses based on the sales target. Therefore, I am writing my second answer, why revenue recognition, why revenue can be overstated due to the fraud risk. See, now then I wrote the answer, evaluating risk of misstatement. Now this coaching approach to study the session series, what we are going to cover, only past papers, so only exam questions. But before that, we need to see whether you have this knowledge. Like I said, do you know what ROM means? Risk of misstatement. When you know it, we can go to this type of exam questions and answer. I am going to do that now. Right? Let's start with questions.
Infinityspace. වෘත්තීය ගිණුම් කරන අධ්‍යාපනය සඳහා වෘත්තීමය සන්නාමය.